Hello there. In this video, I'd like to show you how you can begin with a Moodle gradebook export that looks something like this and end up with a series of bespoke PDF files, one for each student in the unit, that give a breakdown of a particular assessment task and look something like this. So for each student, there's their name and details at the top. This is a made-up student here. There's a breakdown of the performance of the cohort in the particular assessment task. There's a series of generic comments that are useful for all students in the cohort about how they performed on this particular assessment. And there's some particular information for the individual student about where they sit in the cohort, their final mark, their rank out of all the students, and that rank expressed as a percentile, and then illustrated with a little gauge there on the right. The first thing to do is to navigate to this page, bit.ly/studentfbsheet, short for student feedback sheet. And when you do that, you'll be confronted, first of all, with a setup page. And there are 7 things you need to do. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we're just going to run through those quickly. So number 1, make a copy of this workbook, save it to your own Google Drive. So we need to sign in to Google. And then if we hit File, make a copy, we'll have a copy of this sheet that we can manipulate and change. Number 2, copy and paste the entire Moodle gradebook from Excel into the Paste Moodle Gradebook Here tab. So paste Moodle Gradebook here. We've got cell A1 selected. Now, this is a Moodle gradebook that I exported earlier, and I've changed all the names, so none of these are real names or real email addresses. But the way that you get a gradebook out of Moodle is in a unit like this here. If you go to Grades, and then you're going to want to export, Excel spreadsheet, and then keep everything ticked, download, and that's your file. I'm going to use this one that I've changed to guard student anonymity, and so I just click up here to select everything. I press Ctrl C to copy it. I get back to my Google Sheet, make sure cell A1 is selected, and simply Ctrl V or Command V on a Mac. And there we go. The whole spreadsheet is pasted in, and that's all I need to do on that sheet. So I go back now to Setup. I've done number 2. Write the unit code. So this one was, let's say, ATS1234. And then in the next box, I write any generic comments that I want all students to know about how they performed in the unit. So I've just put some sample comments here for the sake of the demonstration. Number 5, these are all the assessment tasks that were listed in the unit. They're taken straight from the Moodle gradebook. I've got to decide which of these I want to represent on the PDFs. I'm going to do the unit total, so the final mark, and so I put an X in that column. I can choose whichever one I want, but I can only do one at once. So choose which assessment task you want to give this feedback to the students on. Put an X in the column. And I've also got to say what this assessment was out of. And this is out of 100. So I'm going to put 100 in this box. And that's all the setup I need to do. And then the next step is just I click once on this button here, and the Google Sheet will do the rest. It may be that I need to give permission for the script to run. And if so, yeah, here we go. Authorization required. So continue. and then if you trust the sheet that I've created, authorize it. If you don't, then feel free not to. And once I've allowed the authorization, then I'll need to click this button once more. And then I get the notification that it's running a script. It's going to take a long time. First of all, it's creating individual sheets for each of the students. In the unit, you can see them beginning to appear here at the bottom. And then it's going to export them one by one as a PDF. The reason it takes such a long time is that if it happens too quickly, Google thinks that too many requests are being made of it. And so it has to slow itself down in order not to be rejected by the Google API. So we're going to wait a few minutes, go and have a coffee, go and do some exercise, and then come back and I'll show you what you get when you're finished. So it's been a few minutes now and the script has finished processing. And what it's done is it's created a folder in the root directory of my Google Drive called Feedback Sheets, the unit code, and then today's date. And within that folder, there are bespoke PDFs for each of the students in the unit. So just click on one. You've got the name, the invented student number and email, the assessment name, a little video for the students on how to interpret the information on the sheet. You've got the breakdown of marks. You've got the conclusions that you've typed into the sheet. And you've got this particular student's breakdown of marks. And you can then bundle these PDFs with the feedback that you send back to students on Moodle. If you send them back a marked copy of their work, you can also send them one of these feedback sheets. It just gives them a more rounded sense of where they sit in the unit, of things that they can do to improve, of mistakes they might have made that are typical of the type of things that other students were getting wrong. And in my experience, it helps students better to get a sense of how they can improve in the unit. And I hope you find these feedback sheets as useful as my students have.